Hello everybody, this is Dr. Wes Moore, and I hope that you have had a great day. I'm looking forward to this session with you today. What we want to talk about in this session is two things. First, price elasticity, and then utility analysis. Now these might sound pretty technical to you, but they're actually reasonably easy to understand, and they are important for us to know about. So price elasticity essentially is how price affects our economy, and then utility analysis is really about measuring what we like. So we're going to be looking at price and how things respond to price and how to measure things that we like. So what do we want to talk about today? Really going to talk about three things. First of all, we're going to talk about how price affects demand. That's something we call price elasticity of demand. Secondly, we're going to talk about how price affects supply. This is what we call the price elasticity of supply. And then thirdly, we're going to talk about how to measure what we like. And that's what we call utility analysis. So let's begin then with how price affects demand. How does price affect demand? Well, first of all, let's start off by defining this term price elasticity. Price elasticity. Well, the first thing we need to recognize is that prices are going up and down all the time in the economy. Buyers are making choices, suppliers are making choices, and prices are always moving up and down a scale depending on the activity in the market. And when this is happening, buyers and sellers are asking some questions. They're asking questions like, how much will we sell if we raise or lower our price? We want to make as much money as we can, so if we raise the price and try to gain more profit, how much are we going to sell? If we lower it, will that lower price be overcome by more quantity sold? Those kinds of questions. And then how much should we make since prices are going up or down? What kind of decisions should manufacturers and producers make given price changes? Well, the way that we characterize this and help to figure out this question is found in a term known as price elasticity. Price elasticity. Now the word elasticity comes from a root word elastic, and everybody knows about that, elastic in your pants or something like that. An elastic simply means the ability to stretch. So when we change price, how much does the quantity demanded stretch, grow or shrink? When we change price, how much does the quantity supplied grow or shrink? How much does it stretch? And the technical definition of price elasticity would be this. How much does a change in price change either how much we want to buy, that is the demand, or how much we want to sell, that is the supply? How much does a change in price change how much we want to buy or how much we want to sell? There are several ways that we try to measure this, or several ways we characterize the level of elasticity to price. But the way that we measure it, there's a specific formula, and I'm not going to focus a lot on formulas, but I do want to make you aware of what this formula is so we can talk about it a little bit. We measure price elasticity by measuring the change in price as a percentage. How much does the price go up or down as a percentage? And then we divide that by the change in the quantity. So when we lower a price, what happens to the quantity, demanded or supplied? When we raise a price, what happens? And the relationship between those two things is the level of price elasticity. Now there are three levels, if you will, of price elasticity. First of all, there is what we call inelastic. The price is inelastic. And that means the price change has little or no effect on the quantity, either demanded, wanted, or supplied. In that case, the ratio of the price change to the change in quantity is going to be less than 1, from 0 to 1. We say it's elastic when the price change has a relatively large effect. So if I raise my price a little bit and my sales go way down, or if I lower it a little bit and my sales go way up, then it's said to be elastic. And that would give us a ratio of greater than 1. And then what we call unit elastic, which means that the price change has an equal effect. So if I raise it 5%, I get 5% more demand. If I lower it, vice versa. Okay? So that would be a ratio equal to 1. So for example, if I raise my price 10% and the quantity that I sell goes down by 5%, the elasticity ratio is 0.5, which would fall in what? In the inelastic range. If on the other hand I lowered my price by 1%, so not a big deduction in my price, but my sales dropped 10%, my ratio is 10, which makes my product very elastic. Now let's take this basic definition and let's apply this to both the demand side, quantity demanded, and the supply side in order. We'll start with demand. So what is price elasticity of demand? The question that buyers and sellers are asking here is, how much will quantity demanded change with the price? So how much will what people want change if I change the price? So then a formal definition is how much a change in price changes how much we want to buy, the quantity demanded. All right? And again, it'll be inelastic if it doesn't matter much. It'll be elastic if the quantity changes a lot, and it'll be unit elastic if they move at the same rate. So what determines whether a product is inelastic or elastic? There's a lot of elasticity, a lot of change in quantity demanded with price change, or a little. What affects that? Well, when you're analyzing your product, there are really three things that we want to see that are determinants of the elasticity. The first is the availability of substitutes. So how easily can I substitute something else for this product? So the more substitutes we have, the higher the elasticity. So think about like this, for example. If pizza prices go way up, let's say pizza prices double. Well, pizza is very elastic to price, because if it goes up, it's easy to go get something else like a burger or a sub sandwich or something like that. So if there are a lot of substitutes, if there aren't a lot of substitutes, let's say that there's a drug for Alzheimer's that, let's say it cures it. There isn't a cure, but let's just say there's a drug that cures it. Well, it's pretty much not going to matter what the price is. Because people need that to be cured, they're going to pay whatever it is. There are not a lot of substitutes, therefore it's not very elastic relative to price. You can do whatever you want to with the price. The second thing that determines the elasticity of demand is the share of the budget. How much money am I spending on this relative to all the money that I have in my monthly budget? So the higher the percentage of the budget, the higher the elasticity. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you're buying pencils. If I'm buying pencils and the price of pencils goes up 20%, and let's say it goes up from $5 to $6 for a pack of 10, I'm not really too worried about that. I'm not going to go looking around and spending a lot of time to save $1. But if I'm looking at houses and a house price goes from $300,000 to $360,000, and the monthly payment goes from $1,500 to $2,000, now I'm very sensitive to price, and so I would look somewhere else or probably not even buy. So the share of the budget determines how elastic your product is. And then finally, the time to adjust. Usually given enough time, we can figure out some alternatives even if there aren't many. So for example, earlier we were talking about substitutes. If there aren't many substitutes and I only have a day to figure out a solution, then I'm probably very inelastic on price. In other words, I'll just pay whatever I have to pay. But if I've got a month or a year, then I've got plenty of time, so I don't necessarily have to go with whatever the price is. I can wait to get a better price. So those are the three determinants, or three of them, there are more, of price elasticity on the demand side. Now, why is this important? You say, Dr. Moore, it's all cool and everything, but why does it matter? Well, there are three reasons. Let me give you three reasons that this is important. Why it matters if you're in business or in economics or in marketing or whatever you're in out there in the market. First of all, it helps you with pricing your products and your services. So for example, if I own a business and I know there aren't many substitutes for my product, I can raise my prices more easily. Let's take Apple as an example. Apple has created such a strong brand. It's so unique in the mind of many customers that even though there are other phones out there or watches or whatever, there's really no substitute in their mind to an Apple product. And so they're very inelastic when it comes to price. You raise the price and they're going to pay it. But if I'm selling hot dog buns, people are going to switch real quickly. So I got to be more careful with my pricing if I'm more of in an elastic situation, as opposed to if I'm in more of an inelastic situation. And really your goal as a marketer, as a business owner, is to create a product, create a brand that is so unique that people don't care about the price. That's the goal. It's very, very hard to do, but that is the goal. Secondly, it helps me with production planning. So if I know my product is very elastic, in other words, the quantity change is going to go way up and down with small changes in the price. And I've got 3 manufacturing plants. I need to make sure I'm planning ahead for if the price changes, what am I going to make then? So I may prepare, in advance to cut production, or to shift to another product because I know I've got an elastic product. But if I don't have an elastic product, something I know that's going to, it doesn't really matter about price changes, then I would probably not worry about that as much. And then finally, I am not one for more taxes. I believe the government has taxed us far too much, but the application of taxes is related to this issue of elasticity of demand as well. So when a government taxes something, it raises the price of it. But if you tax something that is very elastic, that price makes a difference, people will stop buying it. So if they were to tax pizza, a 25% tax on all pizza, people are going to switch. So they wouldn't be able to get much tax revenue from that. So taxes on something like gasoline, where people are going to need that and want that no matter what, that's the smarter play in terms of taxing. So these are all reasons, these are all practical applications of price elasticity of demand. Now let's switch gears here and let's talk about supply, the supply side, what we're going to produce and put on the market, not necessarily what we're going to buy. With price elasticity of supply, the question we're asking is how much will quantity supplied change when the price changes? So price elasticity of supply is how much a change in price changes how much we want to produce, not demand, but produce. That is the quantity supplied. And again, if it's inelastic, then it doesn't change much if I change the price. If it's elastic, it changes very quickly and a lot when I change the price. And if it's unit elastic, it moves together. All right? Now we can just very quickly here move on and look at the determinants of price elasticity of supply. What is it that affects sellers producing more given price changes? Because if I'm a manufacturer, I'm making something, or if I'm providing a service and people really want that service, then I'm going to want to take advantage of movement in the supply of things. So how am I going to be able to take advantage of that? Well, the determinants are the availability of inputs. So my ability to quickly change, move my production from product A to product B, or from a certain level of product A and jump it way up to meet that quick movement and that elastic price elasticity of supply, then I need to be able to get inputs quickly. So if I have those available, more inputs equals higher elasticity. So let's say that the price of pizzas drops 20%, and I manufacture pizza dough. Well, that means that people are going to want a lot more pizza dough. So, but I've got a plant making pizza dough. How quickly can I up that production? Well, it depends on how much the ingredient, how can I get the ingredients fast or not? All right, spare capacity. The more capacity I have, the higher elasticity that I can have. So if I have, machines idle, or if I have, I'm only running one shift and I can quickly go to 2 shifts and I can get that additional labor, then I can respond very quickly, and my price elasticity is going to be higher. And then again, as with demand, how much time do I have? So if it's something that people are going to start buying tomorrow morning, that's going to be tough. But if it's something people are going to buy in the summer and it's January, then the more time I have, the higher my supply elasticity can be. So why is this important? Let me give you a couple of things here. Number one, it tells manufacturers how quickly they need to be able to adjust to price changes. So if the price elasticity of supply if it's very elastic, this product that I make, then I could have very rapid shifts in what I'm going to need to manufacture, the number of products I'm going to have to put out. So I got to pay attention to price elasticity relative to the products that I make, because I can have a quick shift in demand either way, up or down. So I really need to be paying attention to that. I might, in order to do that, I might invest in some new equipment or technology or processes that let me gear up fast and gear down fast. If I can't move quickly, I'll lose the revenue. If prices go up, because I want to sell it at a high price. And I might have really increased cost and reduced profits if they fall and I'm sitting there with all this idle gear. So I really have to be thinking about, I need to know price elasticity if I'm a supplier. And then it assists me in strategically choosing products to manufacture. If I know my product is very elastic, in other words, I know that little price changes are going to produce big swings in how much I sell and how much I need to make, I can identify some other products to shift to when prices fall, allowing me to keep my business strong even when one product is off in terms of purchases. So for example, if I'm a baker and I make hot dog buns, I may invest in equipment to bake pies or cakes should hot dog bun prices fall. So if I get a big reduction, prices go up on hot dog buns, and I need to really rapidly decrease how many buns I'm making, I need to be able to shift that over and say, let's make some pies, or let's make some cakes. Let's produce something that people are actually buying right now and buying it at a higher price. So that's why it matters that you know about price elasticity of supply. All right, finally here, let's look briefly at this idea of utility. How to measure what we like. Well, first of all, what is utility? Utility, if you look it up in the dictionary, it's going to mean something like the quality of being useful. The quality of being useful. And in the economic sense, it means the sense of pleasure or satisfaction that comes from consuming a product or service. That's a utility. How much do you get out of it? How useful is it to you? Whether useful as something you enjoy, useful in getting things done and being productive, whatever the case is. So the sense of pleasure or satisfaction that comes from consuming a product or service. Utility depends on individual tastes and preferences. Everybody's different. I may get a lot out of, I love barbecue potato chips. I get a lot out of eating barbecue potato chips. But my wife doesn't care about that very much. So her utility for barbecue potato chips is going to be low. Mine's going to be higher. Everybody's different. And then generally these preferences don't change. Overall, they're pretty stable. That's what we assume in economics. Now, when we're talking about utility, we have to talk about something called diminishing utility. The fact that utility seems to go down as we consume more of something. So let's talk briefly about marginal utility. In economics, the word marginal simply means the next unit. So if we're talking about production, the marginal production is the next unit I produce. And then the next unit after that, at the margin, at the very end, okay? When we're talking about utility, it's the next unit you consume, the next candy bar, the next potato chip, the next slice of pizza. Okay? Marginal utility, then, is the pleasure or satisfaction from the next unit consumed. That next unit, how satisfying is that relative to the one before, and so on. Now, the law of diminishing utility basically says the word diminish means to trail off, to lower. It means we get less pleasure and satisfaction from each unit that we consume. So the more we consume of something, the less utility we get out of it. Take ice cream, for example. That first bite, when you're in the mood and it's 8 o'clock at night, you know you shouldn't be eating ice cream. That first bite is absolutely amazing. All right, but the 10th bite is only, say, half as good. By the time you finish the entire cone, you may feel a little sick, and you'd almost pay somebody to take the ice cream away from you. Your utility is 0 or even negative. It's way less. This drop in utility is called the law of diminishing utility. The law of diminishing utility. Now, why is this important? Let me give you three reasons this is important. 3 ways, 3 things knowing this allows you to do. Well, for example, it helps you with hiring the right workers. Knowing that there's a law of diminishing utility in hiring the next worker. Let's say I already have 2 salespeople in my office, okay? But I have no one to follow up with customers after the sale. So I'm having all kinds of problems with customers not being satisfied after the sale. So I'm having to pull my salespeople off in order to follow up with customers after the sale and find out what the problems are and so on, right? So I would receive more utility from hiring somebody to follow up with the customer, say a follow-up agent, than hiring a 3rd person. So if I'm going to hire one more person, I have less utility as a salesperson and more utility as a follow-up agent. So that is, when you're aware of this concept, it can help you kind of make sense of who to hire in what capacity and where. Secondly, it helps with pricing your products and making production decisions. All right, because I'm aware that every unit my customer consumes is going to be worth less to them, it's less utility, then I can use that in the way I price my products. So I may offer the first cone of ice cream, say, for $5. But I know the utility diminishes after that first, so I may offer the 2 of them for $7, $2 more. Or I may offer 3 of them for $9 or $10. So every unit I'm lowering the price because I know that the utility has diminished. And then I can use those price levels and that demand to determine how much I'm going to produce. So it works into pricing decisions and it works into production decisions, knowing this principle. And then finally, it helps with product mix decisions. Product mix. What kinds of products are you going to offer? Let's say I have a restaurant and I sell wings. All right, I sell chicken wings. I know at some point my customers aren't going to want any more wings. They're going to have their belly full of wings. Their utility is going to come to an end. But their utility for French fries or salads or desserts may still be untapped. So if I can plan to offer them things that have not had that diminishing utility, salads, fries, desserts, then even though they've used up their utility in one area, I can get more sales from them in another and increase my revenue and possibly my profit. All because I know about the law of diminishing utility. Well, that's the end of this session. I hope you have enjoyed it, and we'll see you again next time.